Hi, today we're going to talk about keys to success, number 87, diet saboteurs. I'm Dr. Martin Rutherford, certified functional medicine practitioner and chiropractor.
Dr. Randall Gates, board certified chiropractic neurologist, also a chiropractor.
And we've already covered this subject a long time ago, but it is a subject that, according to Dr. Gates, comes up regularly. So we think that it warrants a maybe a yearly review, maybe a bi-yearly review, maybe a every season's review, maybe a monthly review. But apparently it's something that Dr. Gates deals with quite a bit, or hears that you're dealing with quite a bit. So I think you may already understand what we're going to be talking about. I mean, for me, it's that my diet saboteurs are going to remain unnamed. But yeah, it's something that you have to deal with in the real world of going out, eating at home, having relationships and stuff like that. So
yeah, I feel like we're in a parallel universe attacking chronic pain. I mean, that's really kind of what it feels like, because you have just our entire society is really set up for people to not do well who have chronic pain.
I was at the baseball game last night.
Okay, do tell.
I looked around. There's nothing there you can eat.
Right.
There's nothing there you can eat. I mean, you can eat the peanuts, maybe.
Most of our patients can't.
Because then, yeah, right. Because then you would, if I'm not, I'm probably the one person that's not allergic, but even me, I have to like break them open. There's nothing there you can, I'm looking around at the ballpark thinking, we are never going to not have sick people, looking at all the food that's being eaten there. And then I was being there with a few people, the diet saboteurs I'm not going to mention. It's like, well, do you want some of these or do you want some? I was like, I want a bottle of water, you know?
Right.
And yet now you're the wet blanket. But
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, last night it was just like amazing. I don't know why. I just looked around last night and thought, this is some of the big sandwiches that they have with all the stuff on there. And then they get the fries that are probably dipped in the same thing that they're doing the chicken nuggets in with the gluten on the outside. It's probably not even where it was going, but
no, it is. I mean, and so from that, the way our whole culture is set up, and we've talked about it before, we have a culture set up around food. Bottom line, we break bread together. That's what one of our patients said to us, and you know, their battle to stay on the diet. And it's really hard, because you may have friends that you want to go out with. You may have business relationships you need to maintain. So you have to go out to lunch with people. And when you do that, you may be berated by them. Oh, why are you on this diet? Only 1 out of 100 people have celiac disease. You don't need to stop eating gluten unless you have celiac disease. These are all the things that you hear and that we hear. And then on top of it, lots of times the people who are maybe not outwardly least supportive, but the most significant undermining factor for your progress are people really close to you. That's what we find out. And frequently when an individual starts to make a change, a positive change in their life, not all the time, but I hear this all the time, so we're talking about it. Lots of times when an individual makes a positive change in their life, it makes those around them uncomfortable, because it's almost as though you're saying, okay, well, you folks over here are not good and I am good. And so that makes them very uncomfortable. It makes people insecure. So they really will tend to lash out at you as you're trying to make positive changes in your diet. I mean, you can talk about, you know, the kid coming from the poor area of town or whatever, you know, people try to keep them down. It's really kind of the same thing. It's just human psychology. I mean, that's just the way it is. And the more aware of it you are, the better off you are going to be in your success long term. Because as most of you know, and that's why we do these keys to success, we're not just talking about you being better for 4.5 or 6 months. This is a lifelong battle. So you may as well get prepared now for what you're going to come up against for the rest of your life, because Dr. Rutherford comes up against it. I hear it. And unless you really have kind of your answers down pat and you're just there to stick to your guns, it's very easy to get swayed. It's so easy to get swayed, and it's hard. It's really
you
hard.
don't want to hurt their feelings.
You don't want to hurt their
Some
feelings.
people don't want to
like
see you put down.
Person in your life.
Yeah, some people aren't insecure. Some people don't want to put down. Some people just, you know, I mean, they're cooking for you. They're, you know, it's
right. But it's taken.
You don't want to hurt their feelings. Sometimes they're not coming after you. So you don't want to hurt their feelings, you know. And it's, That's my challenge, is not hurting the feelings of those close to me. It's like,
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
those that are not close to me, I don't have a problem hurting their feelings, as Dr. Gates will tell you. But yeah. But that's an amazingly good point. I mean, that's amazing. But they've done things with weight, where they've shown that literally, like, the heavier of the two in a couple will sabotage the other person, or they'll guilt trip them, or they'll manipulate. I don't know if this rises to that level. I think it's more like what you were saying, which I think is this nuance.
And I think a lot of it is
significant
it's
nuance, right?
subconscious. I mean, I don't think a lot of it is
Yeah.
really intentional, because we're not saying people are bad, but it does create kind of that friction subconsciously, and like a fear response for a lot of people. When you start to change your diet, you start to move in the right direction, you start to look really good, you start to feel healthy, have energy. It's very threatening for those around you. And also, like you said about the cooking, it's an insult if you don't have Aunt Mary's pie. It's an insult
Right.
if you don't eat this dinner. It's an insult if you don't eat somebody's pasta. And so it puts you in a very, very, very precarious position that you just need to be aware of, that you're going to encounter it now and in the future and the rest of your life. So
it's probably the number one problem that you're going to face from here on out to stay well. And it's a big motivator as to why we put the Facebook group together.
Totally.
It's kind of like Alcoholics Anonymous, or Narcotics Anonymous, or Shoppers Anonymous, or Eaters Anonymous. I think they probably have one of those.
So, yeah, food addiction.
Something like that for food addiction. I know this isn't the same exact thing, but sometimes you just need, you're going to be different. It's hard to be different. And it's hard to be the one who, I would add to what Dr. Gates said, our society is centered around food. It's also centered around continual, nonstop, being connected, stimulation. Everybody's trying to advertise. Those are two big things. One's getting at your brain, and the other one's getting at your immune system, or both of them are getting at your immune system. And then when you start like going, well, I don't really want to watch television, or I don't really want to go to the movies, or I don't really want to like stay up late at night, I don't really want to eat that stuff, because I feel good when I don't, then, there's a perception like you're a little weird. But frankly, to me, our society is getting a little weird, in a sense of our brains and our immune systems clearly cannot stand this stimulation. Because you need to understand, when I got into this, when I actually started treating, like really, really treating, it was like 10 years ago or 9 years ago or something like that. There's 35 million chronic pain patients in this country, according to Stanford, according to Harvard, according to the National Health Institute. Now, those same institutes say
130.
Yeah, 130, and I've even heard as high as 160. So either one's enough. Right. But the point is 35 million to 130 million. There's only 320 million people in this country. So something pervasive is happening, and this is part of it. It's not overstating that. It's something that Dr. Gates said, yeah, we could do this every month. And it's true. It's true. That's why the Facebook thing, that's why the Facebook thing is there. Tell them that, as those of you on the Facebook know, I don't even go on that. So the Facebook, that's why the Facebook support group is there, and you should use it. It's important. It's important. One exposure to gluten, one exposure can affect you for 4 days, 4 weeks, in some very serious cases, like 4 months. I was exposed to something early on, and I was sick for almost 2.5 months. And I'm very sensitive, okay, for the record. But the point being, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. It's not worth doing it. And we're not, well, yeah, that should probably finish it.
No, I think that's good. I think it's good. I mean, because my mind, we've talked in our other broadcasts about the medical model for treating things. We've talked about the integrative health model for treating things. The integrative is like the doctor uses bioidentical hormones, and then the functional medicine, functional neurology model. You know, you think about patients with these chronic illnesses, from peripheral neuropathy to fibromyalgia, and the drugs that they have to try and use to combat all of your symptoms. I mean, when most of you go into your standard GP with your symptoms, I wouldn't be surprised if most GPs, like, their eyes start to glaze over, because your chief complaint list is a paragraph long. How are you going to use a drug for all those things? And it's just, it's getting worse and worse and worse. And so that's where, you know, being aware of your diet, being aware of how people are going to sabotage you, it's just so important.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thoughts. All right. So we'll see you next week, and watch out for diet saboteurs.